you know, Lido, who we mentioned going into the game, but pretty much everybody except him, it felt like, had some kind of big moment. Whether it was Rockstar, whether it was Darsley, whether it was Gotti, feels like everybody kind of has had their moment over the past couple days. And of course, that very much can be the same for Los. You mentioned Perez. Dark Eyes, another player that is very well known on this roster. The only remaining player from the old Los core that we saw play on the SAL last year. We'll see how it goes now. Of course, the maps, as you can see, Nighthaven Labs will be the first one up. The map that 4 Angry Men started off this day with all the way at the very beginning. Los would have had the opportunity to observe them, but not really quick enough to really formulate any clear counter strats. Most times, teams just going into the day with a game plan already set. And I have a feeling, given that fact, big shock, we're going to go back with the hard breach denial bans we saw earlier, and I believe also the same Grim Capital bans we saw earlier.
It's been a very common combination today, hasn't it? That's the kind of combo that we've seen more often than not. That Cade, Bandit, and then Grim and Capital all being removed there. And like you say, I don't think this is an instance where we're going to be seeing a lot of counter bans. Just to run over the maps really quickly. Obviously, we're blitzing through these games. We've got Nighthaven Labs coming up right now. We're going to move into Border. Labs being a 4 AM pick, Border being a Los pick, and then a decider of Consulates if we do need that. So you can understand the sort of willingness to play over on Labs from 4 AM because, as we've already mentioned, it's a map that they have played quite a lot to get to this point inside of Salt Lake City. They played it a lot throughout their own kickoff, and they've, of course, played it earlier this afternoon. Los with the Border pick, no real surprise there. They're chaos merchants that they are. They're going to love a little bit of Border whenever we get down to it. And, of course, 4 AM got a little bit of form recently on that map as well. So some parallels that we can draw to when we get down that route. But for now, 4 AM going to be starting off on the attack here. Not a side that they were, you know, the best at earlier on today. It was really their defenses that shone out on Labs, but it was still a side that we saw some nice ideas coming out from them, given that we've got very similar bans. I don't see that that's going to change too drastically.
No, it won't. And at least on the 4 AM side, as you said, this half is 3-3 earlier when we saw them play against Daystar. And basically one of the main issues we kind of saw consistently on this attacking side was getting a bit too tunneled in, getting a bit too boxed in by the defense, and not really adding additional angles to things. We saw it one time, actually, and it resulted in I believe it was round 1 of that series, in fact, that kind of, even though it seemed like Daystar consistently had an advantage, 4 AM were able to fight back in the late round, rotate, basically have pushes from a lot of different angles in the mid to late round, and actually win it. And then they kind of didn't really employ that for the rest of their attacking half. We'll see what happens here. Is already out the gate. We've got TX going down below on the Deimos, creating a rotate hole for himself with the M59. Also, the X-Kairos much more successful right out the gate than they were for 4 AM earlier. They got impacted within the first round because of a Mira. Well, this time, the Hibana opens the walls, but then wide swings the IT breach, dies to dash, and then Gotti also goes down in the process. Deimos and Buck were brought by the attacking team, both serviceable and excellent for Vert, but, well, they are the second and third players to fall for 4 Angry Men, as Dash, still fresh off that, the transition from Wildcard back into South America with Los, getting 2 kills with that AR-15, Darsley and Lida, are the only 2 left.
Darsley going to try and get himself onto that upside down rappel just to see if there's anything that he can glean from behind that Kiba barricade. But this has been a shutout round here from Los. C4 ripped and ready from Dash. He can send that out at his leisure. There's a little bit of damage over toward Darsley, but Zoto is going to freeze things out for a good portion of time. Nice little swing there from Dark Eyes to secure that kill and bring what is going to be a rather inevitable end to the round. Lida lands 1 shot. Can he land the second? He's still got all 4 players to chew through if he does. He's got the time to do it, but Loss. They've given him something to play with now, and instead they're just going to go for that sort of distraction factor. Lida does pick 2 as they all sort of line up, but we did have a very rogue flank outside of Electric all the way outside, working on the IT breach against that sole remaining survivor, but ultimately there were too many bodies that Loss could throw at that problem.
There were 3 players lined up pushing Garage. This has been an uncomfortable theme today, and I would like it to stop. I'd personally like it to stop. 2 times now, in a 4 AM game in particular, though it was usually 4 AM being lined up previously. Players just kept like stacking on top of each other, resulting in like collaterals for different players on the attacking team. that time there obviously happened, and while 2 players went down pushing garage, the third's the one who was actually secured the kill. Either way, I would just prefer we move away from that phenomenon because it can get a little crazy and fall out of the defense's hands very rapidly. But as you said, that was a pretty simple round, all things considered. I mean, we had a couple players just wide swing either vertical angles or the IT breach, lose their fights, and if that happens enough, the round's pretty much going to end within the first half. Now, moving down to the basement, see Los bringing a lot of on-site utility, the smoke and the Goyo, also the mirror and the castle, enabling, of course, a better on-site hold, but for the castle in particular, enabling a bit more presence on-side of the site. Valkyrie cameras will also be good to kind of map out the interiors and intricacies of this setup around the middle and the top floor. So we see how it works out. It seems like there might be some kind of looser setup up top, or no. It seems it will just be 4 defenders moving around the middle floor with 1 player down below on the site.
Dark Eyes getting those Valkyrie cameras placed out there. Got a good chance of some early aggression right now. TX got a good idea that somebody's going to be hiding out inside of storage. Dark Eyes not really wanting to get caught out there on his own, but more than capable of holding his own in a fight if it does come his way. Good information now being gathered on the drone by Darsley as well. They're really getting a bit of a picture as to what this roam game looks like. A lot of players present at the moment inside of cafeteria and up in storage, really occupying a lot of that first floor. Maybe going to be forced up into more of a full clear to try and push those players around, because unless you get Lider in there on the Monty and are really effectively able to start pushing people around, it isn't going to be the easiest task of things, especially when you've got players like Dafo just tucked in on those half expedition stairs. You've got other positions being held as well. Dark Eyes still kicking around up there. It's going to take a little bit here. Dafo still not really giving anything up, and with only tin openers, it's not an ideal route for a Monty to start to move through, and it isn't going to get any better with the ace going down first.
Now with Rockstar going down, Gotti will try and provide some support. Easily could be a 4v3 if they find this player outside the window, but oh no, the Goyo almost slips the net, but down just outside of Pantry, trying to join the rest of the defense, and now they'll have to retreat, losing the player they were meant to save. The Smoke and the Goyo going down, but the former of those being a bit more impactful. Active utility lost. They bled the Lion and the Ace in turn. I think in terms of utility remaining, this might favor 4 Angry Men a little bit. They've still got the Snake, the vertical pressure for the Buck, and the Monty, perhaps the most important piece of that. The 4 Angry Men feeling generally decent getting a 3v3 and having this utility remaining. Ooh, if that C4 landed, that is a big moment for Los. Unfortunately, only does a little bit of chip damage to Gotti, and we're still out of 3v3.
Gotti still can jump in that scanner and see if there's anything that he can glean. Lider does need to be cautious. There are going to be players occupying space around him inside of Exo, and unfortunately he wasn't aware that Nuxka was just tucked in behind one of those big exosuit cases or cabinets. Yeah, you can get a line on the diffuser, Darsley, but with the diffuser now cold inside of Exo, Lider has sort of gone a little bit too far ahead of everybody else, it seems. And Los can just continue to start to draw back and make this even more painful, even more punishing. Gotti is going to be the next player to fall, and well, Dafo, he's going to clean the last as well, straight through that soft Exo hatch that was left. Not often that you see the hatch left soft there in that position, and it's strange again. There was a book right there. You maybe would think, you know, why don't we just open that and use that as a tool to assist with the Monty pushing down?
But it won't happen, and Los continue to have some pretty decent successes on these defense so far. Obviously, in the last one, mainly just, or at least on the first one we saw, mainly playing inside of the site, winning a lot of the gunfights that Foreign Men were very willing to take against them. That go around, they were roaming a lot more than they were before, so a lot of the action obviously happening on the middle floor, but still a generally consistent setup in that all the roamers were within arm's reach of each other, all in very tradable positions. And then, of course, when the mid-round happened and they started to get some more information, they kind of realized they could push a little bit further up the Exo stairs, maybe even get the Valkyrie inside of a gap. Really just consistently good calls and being quite aware of the situation, how it's developing, how it's progressing. So Los looking very, I would say, warm on these defenses so far, even though they are coming in without having played a game today, clearly showing up ready to play and looking very sharp.
5 seconds to go.
I quite like this from 4AM. Bit of a hefty 6-pick there, and finally we're starting to see them bring a appropriate amount of hard breach to deal with Nighthaven Labs. We've not only got the Hibana that's been a bit of a favourite for them over the course of the day, the Ace being brought, of course, occasionally, we do see the ace be brought now as well. Now, the mirror windows are going to be a factor, and Daffo, you can see he's already placed one of those out on the IT breach. He's got the other looking over toward connector. Some pretty nasty trips being placed out as well. So that is just going to be a labyrinth that Perez is starting to generate. Should be able to get these walls open fairly easily here. Perez, no impacts to really do anything about that, and instead can just slip himself back into electric. But no one's going to be able to get through there without him knowing about it.
That's insane. Literally just like, just this massive tripwire covering the perimeter of the room. I love that. Nobody getting through. Rockstar once again applying those X-Kairos to the IT wall. We'll leave Lida with a lot of Selma charges. Probably dedicate over towards the generator and the electrical side. Oh, but again, this ace goes down early. Terra is just wide swinging. The connector breach, I think. Shots connect directly with Lida's head, and well, you brought that redundancy, and now unfortunately it won't serve you very well. Rockstar with 6x Kairos remaining. And I was about to say, I think there's one pocket reinforcement, so the defense, if they wanted to, could reinforce next to that mirror window and really make 4M's life annoying.
Nux going to find a kill over onto TX. The mirror window is going to be surrendered right now. There's not too much that you can do about stopping that from blowing. Perez, he will drop himself off. Don't forget, this isn't a top floor defense, so all the time that has been wasted upstairs is time well spent as far as Los are concerned right now. Perez eventually shuts Gotti down. Gotti was able to find one onto Nux, so that's going to be the only impact that they have inside of the round now. Los, a firm man count advantage. 4 versus 2 right now. You can see them starting to draw back just a little bit. Rockstar, he will push himself up through, but isn't anticipating that the vert is being watched here and takes a good chunk of damage. That's just going to further assist the Azami and Dark Eyes playing in IT.
Just waiting, knowing that there's nobody going to drone this with 35 seconds remaining. No chance. Maybe Darsley uses a flashbang, and, well, he could if he wanted to, but being the last player standing, it doesn't really matter if he uses a flashbang or not. Oh, he's actually kind of forced back because of the air jab. Interesting. Not shooting the air jab as well, probably just to try and give Darsley or give the Nomad some false sense of security. 3 rounds in a row now for Los. Really good stuff. Might even see a tactical timeout from 4 Angry Men at this point. Might see Eden try to run through a game plan because these defenses have not looked particularly close.
The timeouts from Eden have typically been quite good as well. They've been very, very precise, very decisive. I wouldn't be surprised to see one come at the end of round 4. A lot of teams like to use round 4 because we've got another couple of bans that get sent in, and it just extends the time that the players can talk. It doesn't extend the time the coach can talk, but then the coach can come in, of course, after that. And it seems that was Eden's plan all along. Now, unfortunately, we don't get to listen into the tactical timeout, but we do get to listen into the halfway point, which is coming up in only 3 rounds' time. So stay tuned for that. Eden's timeouts have certainly been worth a listen. But the headline for this game so far is that Los are pretty much walking all over at 4 AM, and we are consistently seeing the same problems be brought up. It's a lack of control. It's a lack of space. In some areas, it doesn't even matter the key pieces of utility being used, generated, or exchanged correctly. A lot of it's coming down to the gunfights. That's
exactly what I was going to say. I mean, and the paradigmatic example of that for me last round was that fight between, I believe it was Perez and Gotti. Gotti gets the kill on the player, like, swinging into lounge, and then Perez is flanking from behind, and he's, like, so far behind the other swing that this is just, like, a straight-up 1v1 that Gotti's ready for. He turns around and is pre-aiming the angle, and I could, as the 2 players are about to meet, I was like, oh, he absolutely gets this kill. There's no way he doesn't. See right there, gets that. I thought for sure he gets Perez there as he swings around the corner. Still loses the fight. Even though Gotti's ready for it, even though it's 2 isolated 1v1s, still goes down and gets traded. That's a good example where, you know, Perez, if he's, I'm not saying Perez necessarily did something wrong, but if, like, he swings a little earlier, no way Gotti gets out of that. But because he swings later, it is a pretty much just straight up 50-50 that Gotti is ready for. The fact that he still wins it, it's indicative that even when things are going right, and as you said, the gunfights just still aren't going 4 Angry Men's way. And when everything is going against you, and then also you can't win your fights, that's usually why you go down 0-3.
I mean, there's only Nux that's died twice, right? Everybody else has died once, and as you say, it comes down to shooting at the end of the day. Siege, as much brilliant utility as we've got in the game, you've got to be in the right position to use it. Looks like confidence is starting to swell a little bit on the side of Los as they're going for some pretty extended spawn peaks right off the rip here. But everyone going to be able to get up to that platform fairly safely and operate inside a connector terrace. Darsley straight on it to start to move and open up these connector walls. Now, as we mentioned, timeouts from Eden have been good so far. Not only have they netted one round, in some instances they've netted as many as 3 or 4 in a row. So that little bit of guidance can be very crucial. But it's going to have to be a hell of a lot of guidance this time, not just a little bit, to really change this tide. Good drone being placed underneath. Gotti keeping an eye on those flanks, knowing it's something that Los have done before already, so anticipating that that's going to be something that's done again. Now trying to deal with these Denari trips that Perez has been setting up, this labyrinth we've been talking about inside of Connector and Electrical. Zafir, not a bad way of trying to deal with that, and a bit of drone information just to be able to be a little bit more precise with that lifeline.
Nade banked around the corner will disrupt part of that network, but ooh, not even in its entirety. Dedicating a lot of utility to trying to disrupt this. So much value just from these tripwires. Really impressive placement by Perez there. It'll even encourage some of the defenders to send a C4 over top that puts Lighted down to below 50 HP. This is draining so much time. I think maybe they finally got part of it, but not even all of it in its entirety. Smoke canisters going out to add insult to injury. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this if you're Los. So much value, and now the Denari is shot. I mean, that's what, like a minute and a half? That's crazy.
It's 4 nades, it's a full lifeline, it's stuns, it's everything. All the focus so far has been toward getting this open. Lida's even had to tank a little bit of damage to try and enable this sort of push. It's so telegraphed right now that really what can 4am do? Do they double down and continue to try and bang their head against this wall thinking, well, we've spent all our utility on it, we may as well try and make something happen, or are they going to hit a rotate, or are they not going to be given a chance?
Well, I mean, we saw earlier on Nighthaven Labs, when they didn't have this issue, they still tried to bang their head against the wall and continue pushing through this exact same breach. TX will get 2, make that 3 as one wide swings. In the 1v2, it's not as dominant as it might otherwise have been. And with Dark Eyes on low HP, that ARX does a lot of damage, but you got to find the gunfights first. 4 in a row for Los. And, you know, I obviously want to put a lot of importance on those Denari tripwires. It drains so much utility, so much time. Just an honestly comically large amount of basically every resource that 4am had at their disposal. But also earlier when there was less crazy bits of utility, when it was just reinforcements and breaches and mirror windows, they still got stuck on that side. They still had a heavily telegraphed pushed all from the connector position. The exact same thing we saw against A-Star.
It's you know, not just the Denari trips that are making things hard. That's the focus, and that's the nice thing that, you know, it's very easy to sit there and talk about that because it's obvious what's happening. But like you say, it's not the only thing that they've been tripping themselves up over. 4 rounds in a row for loss. 4 opening picks in a row for loss. Again, really starting to struggle to see signs of life. The only couple of kills that were got there by 4am were kind of times where lost players are just sort of throwing themselves and they're just going, you know what, time's short, we've used all the utility, we've got a man count advantage, we've got some guaranteed players tucked in here.
It's troll time.
They're not going to troll. I'm just going to go and send myself at these couple of players and see if there's anything that I can do. There's no impactful kills that have come out so far from 4am, and that's not something that you want to be saying at round 5.
No, especially on a map earlier that you obviously won, though, on your defenses, but you still pulled out a 3-3 attacking half. And you still pulled it out, generally being competitive the whole time. It's not like they were down 0-3, then came back 3-3. It wasn't a streaky first half. It was a bit more back and forth, and just to see such a radically different opening side of Nighthaven than the one we saw against Daystar earlier, it's a worrying sign at this point. It is a very worrying sign for 4am's chances in this series. As it continues, the top floor will now go down to the basement. Still some of the same players we saw last time. Hopefully, with this blitz, we'll maybe see a little bit more, I suppose, pressure applied to these roamers, ability to clear them out. As those kind of just retreated downstairs at their own pace, at their own time, and traded out the attackers as they pushed in, but still kind of escaped with a pretty decent position. The 4am still had some good remaining utility, particularly that Snake.
They've shown us some really exciting attacks on this site, and this isn't looking like one of them. We're just seeing a bit of a flooding at the moment in through Animus. If they're just going to try and use the lifeline and the blitz to make something happen here, it could get quite messy. Rockstar finds his first of the game so far, but that looks like a lot of site control to me, Lynx.
A lot of site control, and Rockstar getting that first pick also highly important because now the Thorn, not really a lot of great options. Did she get him with the Razor Bloom? Surely not. That's crazy. Darsley does find another, and it is 4 AM with the advantage, but that is a nasty find, and I've never seen a Razor Bloom used that way. Really good heads-up play by Dash that has stalled out 4 AM for the moment, and they're starting to drop bodies. The Hibana and Gotti both low, but I don't know if they can find this planter in time. It is a straight-up 2v2, and a blitz in low time is not the player you want. Now it is just Rockstar behind the pillar. Got his first kill and will not get any more than that. Dark Eyes with 3, but perhaps an MVP late round Razor Bloom. A bit of utility play that I have never seen.
Dash using both sides of his brain there. The Razor Bloom being used to try and deny that plant and successfully denying that plant. They'd made a good play. It was, okay, the site's a little bit light.
It was a good call.
We can move through. We've got Blitz. We've got Zafir. We've got the lifeline. We can make something happen quite quickly here. We can ignore a lot of the utility in that the Goyo Vulcan pack, and we can just sort of push straight through to site. Great call. I like it. It worked. Nearly. The one thing that it didn't work on is that there was only 3 of them that did it. And the other 2 players, bit more impact maybe, a little bit of something. Like, we needed a little bit more, because if you've got 3 players making that push, and then one starts to put the plant down, you've then got 2. So you're already at a losing battle, especially when gunfights have been the hardest thing that we've seen 4 AM have to win today.
I also think, again, just to go back to that Razor Bloom, because I like everything you said, but also just adding on to that, I think, and at least this is a completely subjective feeling I have, maybe I'm wrong, I do feel like this phenomenon of keeping, like, specifically for, like, your Ellas, your Thorns, this phenomenon of keeping one trap in the pocket that I've seen a lot more consistently over the past year and a half, I feel like. It can still trip you up quite extensively. I mean, you think about it with Ella, but I haven't really seen that happen with Thorn very often, but it makes a lot of sense, especially if somebody's trying to put the diffuser down, and I don't think that's something a lot of players are, like, necessarily going to be thinking of as, like, a high priority in their head, just because for basically a lot of the game's history, you saw those traps placed at the beginning of the round, and so.
With how quickly that round went, though, that could have just been something he'd not placed yet.
That's true. It might not even been intentional.
You know, it might not have even been like, oh, I'm going to keep this just in case, you know. But it's the headspace in the moment knowing, actually, I've got this. I can affect that. Let's roll. We've got the util to be able to get the job done. 5 rounds in a row then for loss. First time we saw 4 Angry Men get the opening pick. Rockstar was successful in round number 5, but as we've just seen, it wasn't enough. It still wasn't enough to tip the scales in their favor. We're going to be attacking into the mid-floor right now. Again, we've not seen them have too much problem get the breaches open. That's kind of what you get when you have a double breach denial ban. You've got the Cade gun, you've got the Bandit gun. These things are going to happen. These things are going to be fairly straightforward. It's what happens next that really matters. And searching out for some of these roamers has been a little bit of a problem. Not only that, but winning the gunfights once they get there. Perez, we can see, is going to be dug in over toward that IT side of things and actually rotates himself down Fish, so doesn't want to stick around upstairs and find out what's going to go on.
I think that's a good option. I mean, at this point, minute 20 seconds in, you don't want to be giving 4 Angry Men any openings you don't otherwise need to, especially as these zombie 5 Kivas generated. You want to keep those active, keep them good for the late round. Darsley, the Glass, goes down early. One of those disruption operators, though maybe the less exciting one out of Grim, Cappy, Tao, and Ying. Could have been somebody who could have stayed in the smoke, quickly pre-fired around a corner with that DMR. Saw that 4 AM do that exact thing against Daystar earlier, albeit up on the 2nd floor. Kitchen dining, you won't have that. Still thinking about getting those breaches. You've got the tin openers. You've got the somas. You've got a hell of a lot of vertical destruction with every boogie drone getting used. But only a minute remaining. Still a 5v4 with a clash on the board, with Perez having all of his Kibas. Still all 5 in pocket, by the way. This is looking like a really tricky position. Great coordination between the Clash and the Warden. Now we just have the DMR tagging on, looking for some action. I mean, it's kind of a rudimentary description, but this has felt like a 6-0 pretty much the whole time. We've barely seen any fight from 4 Angry Men, and that just continues to be the case in round 6.
It's just a little bit too checklist again, isn't it? It's like, we're going to go in, we're going to use the RAM, we're going to open up the floor. That floor's been open for the entire round,
like
and nothing's
8,000
happened
years
through it. Like, it's just It's not doing the do. If you've got a clash at the bottom and you've got Dash throwing C4s left, right, and center, you're going to need to give us a little bit more than just going through your plan and being stubborn and sticking to it. And again, it's what we saw happen in the game earlier today. We need to see what the adaptation is.
And we'll see what Eden has to say.
啊我操，不背要怎么用？
No sound. No sound either. No sound.
Oh, it's better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, before anything, take 20-30 seconds, okay? Breathe, keep calm, and we come back, we reset in the game, okay? Here, it's not like we magically forgot how to play in 2 hours time frame, okay? It's just that we are not playing together, okay? We are doing stupid picks and we are putting ourselves in their lines, okay? Just chill, we play together, we comes, okay? That's what is making us successful, so please don't forget it. Okay, now that we took this time, what are they doing in attack? Go on, I did not see the...
Oh, they rush a lot. They rush a lot.
Roubado, tá ligado?
É, roubado.
Vou jogar Jingle Glass, então.
Peitam
O
comida.
na tanque ele tem uma 1-3-1 que vira 1-4 muito rápido.
E o cara começa a água e desce rapidão água. Pela água ele desce.
É, eu anotei pra gente fazer o semi-garagem e a gente pode começar a nossa caçada pela água, entendeu? Com Dark Case e Nuzga dobrando água ali, entendeu?
Alguém pega o back dele no L ali, consegue?
Isso, eu pego,
Tá,
eu pego.
fechou então.
Mirar ele e empilha, ele não tem nenhum lado pra correr, né?
Ô, Dash, esse semi-garagem, tem como a gente fazer com o Obre no bomba de começo ou quer fazer muito rápido? Que eu já votei.
Semi-garagem com você no nome de começo?
É.
Mano, eu acho que a gente faz um pouquinho mais rápido, Daf. A gente não. É, a gente vai um pouco mais rápido. Senão esse cara vai descer, talvez a gente não pegue aqui o dele.
E presta atenção no bagulho de movimentação deles, guys. Ele entra pro board, ele entra pra todos os mapas deles. Lembra que os caras, mano, se mexem full. Tá ligado?
É, vamos na calma aqui, mano. Punindo, comunicando os gap. Fazer os steps direitinho aí, mano.
Eu jogo
Começou.
Beat Liquid
Paga
2021.
de afobadão, não.
Sem jogar juntos,
Na-
nada.
Guys, e na garagem, eles na caixas, eles têm uma 3-2 full trap. E que eu acho que a gente faz nessa 3-2, a gente só faz o full domínio padrão. Eles vão se fuder.
Definitely liked a lot of what Eden was saying at the beginning. I just liked his point specifically about, you know, it seems silly, but like we haven't forgotten to play Siege in the past 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like that's I think it's just a very good sentence to say out loud. Be like, hey guys, we haven't actually just like forgotten how to do the thing we've been doing for like 11 years now, or however long they've been playing the game. Just like a small touch that I really appreciated from Eden, especially since obviously going down 0-6 on a map that you won 7-3 earlier can be the kind of thing that tanks your mental a little bit.
There's not a lot of useful things that you can say
No, there
at that
really isn't.
moment, but I think that was a useful thing to say.
Very useful.
And it's one of only a handful of things, really, because it's true. They've not just magically forgotten how to play. They just need to, in Eden's words, talk through things a little bit more. It sounds like there's been maybe a couple of heads have dipped. Naturally, you've just lost 6 rounds in a row. You've just lost an entire half of a map. It's natural that comms are going to start to get a little bit stressful and things are going to start to change a little bit. On the loss side of things, just seems like vibes. Again, it feels like they just need to continue to move through these motions. They've got a lot of opportunity right now to close this out as a 7-0. And then we move on to Border, which, as we know, is a map where they are going to thrive as well. Not that they're not going to thrive here on Labs, because with a 6-0 scoreline, it's hard to say that they have done anything but up until this point. They will switch over onto the attack, however. We will have a B ban, a Grim ban, and a Thermite ban, countered, of course, with the classic double hard breach denial ban, Cade and the Bandit, which is becoming oh so popular. Top floor is going to be the first site. 4 AM choose to defend. And again, Lynx, they've got plenty of tools to try and do this. They've got the mirror. They can make the breaches a little bit more techy. They can continue to start, you know, making these things a little bit more hard work. The very same that Lost did to them. They've just got far fewer opportunities for mistakes on the side of 4 Angry Men.
A lot less opportunities for mistakes. And one other interesting we heard during the timeout was Eden mentioning that he thought they might like to rush a lot, and that might be true. Not saying it's wrong, but at least in this round, definitely it does not seem to be the case based off this lineup. And so, as you mentioned, a lot of tools, we can see being put to good use right now. Shock drones taking down a lot of those F-Knots quite early. No, oh, almost gets from your window. Body blocked, unfortunately, though I think it's just broken, not completely destroyed. Actually, can't tell if the glass got taken down. No, it's just cracked. Unfortunate, as Paris almost had the craziest Twitch round pathing of Salt Lake City right there, but Applied his thigh, body blocks the shot, now still alive to use this C4 and aim it over towards the connector breach. As it is a 5-man hold of the top floor, nobody roaming at the moment, all playing generally shoulder width apart. It means we're probably going to have a bit of a slow middle round here.
I did sort of raise a little bit of an eyebrow as well when I heard Eden say they like to rush, because it's not a characteristic really that we give any of the SAL teams anymore, is that sort of rush strat. It's far much more structured than that. Dark Eyes, he's in the mix right now. Takes down Lider. He was lining up a shot over onto Electrical earlier. Gotti, he's going to find a brilliant C4 there over onto Dash. One of the downsides from not playing a Nomad, you can't just block off that Electrical door and stop players from having a little bit of a stretch out there and sending a C4. There's going to be a keeper barricade there to slow things down, but shotgun in this position is a classic, and it's going to be Gotti tasked with trying to hold on to it. What a shot over onto Dark Eyes. A lot of work being put in on Electrical at the moment from 4am, and that could be enough to swing the tide, at least in this round. 51 seconds left. There are still 3 players from Los alive. We've got 1 Toxic Babe canister in Rockstar's hand.
Last one just escaped, and 4am maintained their advantage. Both Dafo and Nux stuck around the electrical generator side. Oh, Rockstar just peeks around the corner. Got to be careful about taking this fight. DMR might be strong, but the shotgun will meld you against the wall. Azami close around the corner. No way he gets away with that. Azami trying to land the trade. Ace almost lining them up, but the Fender gets it. Now stuck in the 1v1. He's got info on the Azami's position. Might just land the pre-fire, but no, TX good for it. A nail-biter towards the end as 4am get there first.
A 1v1 to keep your team in it on 6-0. Whew, not a position that you want to find yourself in there. You want the rounds to be a bit more decisive than that, but you can't always choose how they're won.
And 9x19 against a DMR, probably the most cursed matchup you could be taking that 1v1 against.
I know, yeah. I mean, Nux had already done so much. They'd already been able to deal with the smoke. They'd already been able to they had filled their quota for round number 7 and then some.
That shot was crazy with the SMG-12. That's also crazy that he hip-fired DMR'd that guy from around the corner. And oh, that was close. TX was on very low HP at the end of that 1v1. Could have been 7-0 right there, but difference between 7-0, 7-1, even 7-2 to an extent, really splitting hairs. We're going to need to see a lot from 4 Angry Men, or see very little from Los, conversely, to really have an idea for a convincing comeback here, because Los are still been not only generally dominant, but even generally very good in that round. While 4am were able, I think, strategically to keep them at a distance, Los showed themselves to be quite adept in the gunfights, though 4am did as well. That continues here. It only takes one. Only takes one overperformance or crazy shot from Dark Eyes, combined with, say, a blitz push from Nux to really throw things out of whack for 4 Angry Men, and off the map to end and us to go to border. As we attack and look to basement, got a lot of the standard players. 2 sources of vertical destruction for Los at the moment, and of course the blitz that I mentioned earlier. Trying to clear out any of these roamers, or anybody on the site later on.
Los's recipe is typically the same as many other teams. It is going to be to get in and start to take a little bit of control of that mid-floor, work some of that vert a little bit. We've got Perez on the ram, who's going to be able to achieve that quite nicely. Self-sufficient here, droning himself in on the catwalk. Already sent one of those ram boogie drones in toward Electrical. But doesn't need to be there to sort of line it up and follow it in. Can instead make his own path. It's going to be Dash taking down Gotti to start things off, and Perez just hits some beautiful timing.
Oh, so it's
as
over.
Dash finds himself a third, and Rockstar, well, one of your teammates has already got a 1vx, but this time it's a 1 versus 5.
I mean, that TCSG hits like a truck. It can do a lot of damage. Might be able to take down one. We even saw some nasty shots hit by the TCSG in our first series of the day. If he's found a gap, spots one. Dark Eyes put to low. He's got at least the first, but with one player around the corner, it is not going to happen. 7-1 will do. Not all that different from a 7-0. It is just as dominant in the grand scheme of things. And how Nighthaven Labs has changed for 4 Angry Men.
Night and day difference, really, isn't it? And I think that's one of the things that they're going to experience when they start to come up against one of the bigger dogs here. Loss. They are from a big region. They are from the SAL, and they play some cracking teams week in, week out. And they have really made a mockery there of 4am. We're going to cut to a very short break, and then we'll be back with map 2 in the series.
That was a quick one, as we just saw. Not a 7-0, not a 7-0. But a 7-1 is basically the same thing at the end of the day. Nighthaven Labs quickly dealt with by Los, and now we have Border coming up. And I hate to say it, if Los are shooting that straight on Nighthaven, I have a feeling Border might be similarly paced.
Border is going to be a map that suits Los a lot better. It's a map that is very synonymous with the region that they are from in SAL. We see quite a lot of Border. We know there are a lot of Border-loving teams over there. And we've seen 4AM play on Border already, and it wasn't necessarily the game to remember them by.
No.
And I don't really know how that's going to stack up against Loss, purely because from what we saw on Labs links, there was just a gulf in terms of gun ability in a lot of cases.
I mean, especially by the end of the map, I mean, I want to say, I think some players still had like extremely minimal amounts of kills. Yeah, 2 kills for Rockstar, 3 kills for Lida and Darsley apiece. Just really bleak stuff, all things considered, which part of it was because of Los's performance, but still something you have to worry about, especially as we go to a map like Border. As Ali mentioned, if the gunfights were lacking on Nighthaven, then on Border, if it's lacking, it is just going to punish you even more. And something we talked about yesterday, something we talked about earlier, when we saw 4AM play on Border against SR yesterday, it was all 12 rounds, to be fair. But something they struggled with was clearing out some of those power positions. And if I'm thinking about who might win a fight against Dark Eyes if he's playing like CCTV with Aruni, right now it's nobody on 4AM based on Nighthaven Labs. It feels like nobody's winning that fight.
And I think that's it. And to throw it into a bit of context, it's not like we sit here and hold SR as being on a pedestal for their ability to play Border. It's not really a map that they play a hell of a lot over inside of the NAL, and it wouldn't be my first choice of map if you said, if you think of SR, what's the map that you think of? I wouldn't be picking Border. I don't think it'd be my first, second, third, or fourth. So, again, you throw that into there and you start to wonder. But each team has a map to pick inside of a best of 3. It just so happens that Loss chose this one. And I'm sure they've chosen it for a very good reason. 4 Angry Men yet to have a significant impact in this series. They were good for 1 round on Nighthaven Labs, but we're going to need to see a hell of a lot more out of them than that if they want to make it any further here at the Salt Lake City Major.
Need to see a big performance out of 4AM starting on these defenses. Also would like to see no hard breach denial bans. When we moved out of Nighthaven Labs and Clubhouse, we were treated to some different fare. But Ali and I have been cursed with these defensive bans. But I believe that Los will make things a bit easier and indeed will start Azami taken off the board. And if you think about, at least for 4AM on these defenses, what are the kind of things they really need to get rid of? I think a lot of those disruption operators are going to be the name of the game. I've never really thought of Los as like a particularly deadly shield team, in particular Nux a long time, while he often plays the shields. It's not really like one of the main shield players in SAL, but I will say their ability to use operators like Ying, like Grim, to get good value out of them is something you really have to worry about. Same with some of the intel ops as well. So I think focusing on the Ying and the Glass for 4AM is likely just a good prophylactic measure.
It's never going to be a bad thing to target, is it? Glass, Ying, always pretty firm favourites when it comes to Border. There's going to be quite a lot of long angles that can be opened up that Glass can exploit, and at the same time, some fairly tight spaces that Ying's Candelas can be really effective in as well. It is, of course, going to leave open plenty of other tools, as we know now. Dark Eyes loves a little bit of Deimos. Perez, no surprise to see him on the Snake. It seems to be the operator that a lot of the fraggers are really starting to gravitate toward, just because how self-sufficient and how quickly they can move through the map with that autom scanner. Couple of changes, maybe not going to see the Monty, but still at least going to see a shield, it seems, in a Blackbeard. Daffo just going to round things out with another global, some more oppressive information in the Alliant there being chosen. 4AM kind of spreading themselves a little bit far and wide here, but that's the nature of Border. You've got key areas that you really need to keep a good control of. Kind of like that Thorn Razor Bloom from Rockstar. I think it might just fly under the radar a little bit with that window already being opened. There's a chance that somebody might miss that just being there on the sill.
It's also a Razor Bloom that kind of is indicative of a good understanding of player behavior. Like, sure, that Razor Bloom, technically speaking, is super visible. You can shoot that from a lot of different angles. But most people obviously don't rappel up the side because of the armory wall. And if people are up at the front, they're probably going to have triggered the Razor Bloom because the main way players approach this area is from the corner that the Snake is at right now. And so it's an understanding that even if it seems in theory highly visible, from the angle that players always approach it at, not visible whatsoever. At the beginning, Dark Eyes gets the first pick with a shotgun, taking down Gotti in the 90 hallway. TX next up on deck. Rockstar might find one fighting in CCTV. In general, 4AM seem to have a little bit of fight left in them. Diffuser dropped inside of CC at the moment, though, with Perez around the corner. Can use that Soliton scanner, can use some of that secondary utility. What a comeback from 4 Angry Men. 3 kills in a row. Well, Perez has exact information on Rockstar's position at the moment, seeing that Razor Bloom. We'll have even more information with this Soliton scanner.
There's not a great deal that you can do about it from there, though. There's another Razor Bloom that's been placed as a replacement. That information that's being gathered from Perez, who can he feed it to? He can feed it to Dash. Dash hasn't got the greatest chance to affect onto that. Instead, Perez is just going to straight up go and enter into the site. Doesn't matter that they've not got the diffuser. They're going to be pushing for kills, it seems, in this one. It'll take Darsley down. It's a really important play to make at that point because there's still loads of time here. And look at how powerful this Soliton scanner is. He's going to be able to find exactly what he needs to know. Can call the diffuser as clear for Dash, but will be taken out by Rockstar.
And unfortunately, it's just long enough. Eventually, you're going to show your head. Eventually, you're going to make even the slightest mistake. And at that moment, as the call is perfectly good, get the information. Dash gets the diffuser. He's running over. It's going to happen. Ends up exposing himself. Now stuck in the 1v2. Lida, who was threatening a flank earlier, now joins the Thorn inside of the site. 50% already gone. Dash will fall off and spot him, but Rockstar good for it. Massive 3v5 from 4 Angry Men right out the gate, stopping the momentum gathered by Los.
I think it's the right play there from Dash. I just don't know that there's much else you can do. There's things that went a little bit further wrong than that earlier on into the round. You've got to just try and bait something out there and hope you get a little bit of a misplay out of it from 4AM. But they were fairly well locked in and will cement the first round here on Border. Good hold inside of CCTV as well. Some brilliant usage of not only the Razor Bloom, but just the knowledge of having that link between the top of those east stairs with Lida there and being able to help and to keep things a little bit safer for Rockstar hanging around inside of CCTV. The fact that he was one of the last players alive as well was even more impressive in that endeavor, because usually it's a bit of a hold where you kind of either leave and the round wins, or you leave and you go onto the cameras. You never really get to do much more than play inside of CC.
CC obviously gaining a lot of focus from the last round. We'll see what kind of focus it has in this one as a ventilation and workshop defense. Likely see 4AM make a little bit of motion towards it, but the main point of action off-site, at least, will be likely an armory. Though we can see sometimes teams, attacking teams specifically, rush in through the horizontal, whether it's through customs and passport or through the teller's wall. We'll see what Los have in store. A lot of castle barricades being used up top, covering a lot of these armory and office windows. Denying some exterior angles from the attacking team. A hell of a lot of information gathering. Dark Eyes and Perez on the Dokkaebi and the Snake, respectively. Perez again in this position. Does he know that somebody's outside the window? Open up. Oh, just sees the head. With this trigger discipline, spots him. Great play. Cutting down Lida. Just tucked inside behind the CC desk and now gaining some upward momentum with the Soliton scanner. Only spotting one player in Fountain. Oh, the bullets just sail over his shoulder. Just trying to get extra at this point. The Monty getting activated as well over on the break room side. They've already taken control of CCTV within 45 seconds. They've got a kill. They do not need to push for more.
Look at how powerful that Soliton scanner is, by the way. Literally walks through CCTV with it out, just looking, just like, well, no, who's there, who's there, who's there? It just makes the game so different. And the players that are going to be able to leverage that the best are the players that are going to do well here inside of Salt Lake. That much is for certain. Perez still can operate inside of CC, but it's going to be time to move off and assist Dash a little bit with starting to bait out a little bit that utility on that armory wall. Nux is going to be able to come along and start to open up that wall as well, which is going to make those smoke canisters from Rockstar just a little bit less effective.
Oh, DMR shot sailing straight through small office. I thought that might have found Rockstar. Instead, it's Darsley who goes down behind him. Smoke still using utility, all of it utilized at basically the halfway point. TX finding a massive couple kills. I don't even know how he found those. He gets 3 as they push all the way through Armory. And somehow, 4 Angry Men 2 times in a row when it seems Los have gained the advantage. Whether it's multiple or just one player in this case, find a brief opening to fight back. As the Monty and the Hibana have taken control of the site, the Specchio scanner can wait and spot Nux once he puts down that diffuser. Instead, it'll be Dash picking it up. With bearing 9 around the corner. Neither him nor Gotti want to make this first move. He's got to cover Dash. He puts it down. Wide swing around the corner. Just barely dodges the headshot, but TX good for the next. Ace required if he wants to get 4 Angry Men their second. Look at these vertical angles. They've already dealt with the Monty. They have already put so much pressure on the attacking team. So as Nux rotates over, is looking at the hatch, revealed this position, but gains some information. Another attempt behind the wall. TX might have to drop. The sound cue will go out, and the Bandit decides to wait. Nux coming off the diffuser, has to find this kill. Flashbang dodged by the Bandit, and all 5 for TX. It's another clutch for 4 a.m.
What a massive play there from TX. An ace to make it happen. 3 kills, just dug in deep inside of Archives. And the final 2 coming in, well, 1 on the vert, and then the last one there on the drop. I thought Nux played it perfectly. He's got to get the plant down. He doesn't want to get caught into this cat and mouse game of, oh, am I getting the plant down? Oh, are you going to drop the hatch? Oh, are you going to peek? Has to try and firm the plant. Played it as well as he could. Throw the flash. Hope that you get the right side of the swing and just, you know, work from there. But TX swings the other side, dodges out the flash entirely, and is there ready and waiting to take that frag. Difficult one to call. Didn't know who I fancied for it, but an ace clutch is an ace clutch nonetheless. And 4 a.m. have got 2 rounds here on border. It looks like they've already firmly forgotten anything that was going on over on Labs, and they are locked in here. 2 rounds on the defense as well. This is a map that you expect Attack to do fairly well in.
Yeah, you expected, especially with the impact that Los have had in the early game so far. I mean, obviously finding the Malusi there pretty early on. I believe they found the opening pick in round 1 as well, though it is escaping me where exactly it happened. Oh yeah, it happened with Dark Eyes in 90. So usually when you see that opening pick go the way for a certain team, you usually see what happens in round 2, where it's like, okay, we can immediately take CCTV control, and now we can leverage this into a lot of armory pressure. And a lot of that was successful, but there are these very small moments in each of these rounds. Some individual engagements in round 1, and then obviously a lot of people lining up for TX in round 2. That despite Los basically making use of a lot of the built-in advantages of border, it gets completely mitigated by the halfway or by the 45-second point. And 4AM are playing really good in this recovery game right now. Really, really, really good. Switching up the defensive strategy as well as we get to round 3. We got the Cade Tuber out entering the mix. Going to be some pretty heavy stall on time. So we're defending Tellers and Bathroom, their third choice site.
Nice to seeing people getting involved in the kills as well now. Just had TX hit an ace, for goodness sake. Whereas on Night Haven Labs, players couldn't win a gunfight. They couldn't buy a kill in a lot of instances. So it really does seem like whatever was going on Labs has very quickly been forgotten here and put to bed. It's all about 4 a.m. starting to build a little bit of a lead here on border. TX just going to be playing at the bottom of these metal stairs. He knows that somebody's going to be pushing him in through ventilation there. But Dark Eyes hot on his tail. Dash playing on that blitz as well. Oh, just turns the back for a second, but activates on the Banshee. Lider tried to turn around and make something happen, but Dark Eyes still just a little bit quicker there.
Wow. C4 triggered right as Dark Eyes gets the second kill. I was very confused about 2 seconds, then follows up on the next. He has had enough of whatever antics have filled these first 2 rounds and has decided to take things into his own hands. Remaining defenders, 1 inside a bathroom, I believe. No, inside a workshop. Might be the end of Dark Eyes if this IQ isn't careful. This blitz isn't either. Ooh, they do not know. ROU projector provides some coverage. The IQ should go down. Will the blitz fall off the defuse? Plan to really die to that C4. It is the latter. But Los get an important couple kills, and now Rockstar retakes control of bathroom all by his lonesome. He's got control of the diffuser. Information on 1 player outside of the window, but everyone from Los consolidates, and they put their first attack on the board.
Really looked like a bit of a lash out round there from Los, didn't it? And Dark Eyes in particular, like, right, guys, come on. We've lost 2 rounds in a row here that were very winnable for us. There's no reason to keep letting these slip away. Let's just push through and make this really, really straightforward. Nothing fancy, no going for the vert, no taking control of CCTV, E-stairs, none of that. Quite literally walking through main door, walking through ventilation, walking through workshop, or even down by metal, and just making something happen that way. And as soon as you pick up 3 kills, it's going to be relatively easy to transition that from 3 kills into a round win. Even still, the win not good enough for Los. Going to choose to take their time out here as well. It's the halfway point for this first half, and they know that they need to secure every round from here on out, basically.
Well, and especially since there were still so many issues in the first couple rounds. And also, if you look at there, I mean, a lot of that was an individual performance from Dark Eyes. I think being well positioned, being well set up by his team. But even then, you see some gaps in the information in the late round. It wasn't perfect play. It was quite individual play, at least in terms of the impact had in round 3. Still a good victory overall. But definitely some things that in the overall picture of these first 3 rounds that I imagine Hugzord will want to work on, and has a lot of priorities for what Los could improve upon or how they might be able to net themselves a winning half, as 6-0 is long gone, but 4-2 is still very much a possibility if you can really iron out some of the kinks in your play, especially since you had a lot of success in rounds 1 and 2. It had to be pretty big recoveries from 4 Angry Men. I imagine really focusing in on what they did well in rounds 1 and 2 and how they can maybe supplement that with some better later round play.
I think that's got to be the topic of the timeout from Hugzord, hasn't it? It's like, look, guys, this should be a 3-0 right now. And instead it's a 2-1 and we're trailing. Now, I'm sure the alarm bells aren't ringing just yet. We know that Los are very capable, but they also want to be playing a very tight brand of Siege, and they don't want to be letting these mistakes start to creep into official games, because that's when they start to become problems later on down the line. You can't control always when those mistakes start to creep in. If you've let it happen a couple of times, it just becomes one of those things, unfortunately. No, stamp it out. The first 2 rounds, very, very winnable here. You've been ace clutched on, for goodness sake. It is kind of time to lock in a little bit. The game isn't in danger, the series isn't in danger just yet, but it's just about the message that it sends.
It's always about sending a message.
I love sending a message.
Love sending a message. Sending a message right now, barbed wire out on the rafters. You are not getting through. Razor Bloom as well.
Same Razor Bloom as we saw a couple of rounds ago. Now, I don't think that it assisted in a kill, but the barbed wire definitely slows down the player that's hopping in, but I'm sure that they're going to be a bit more aware of that. I think the barbed was this side, so it was inside last time, not outside. Again, a little bit of a mini-game. It gives a bit more warning for Rockstar of anyone just getting on that window.
Well, and you think about it, I mean, the window was closed in this round and it was a different operator, but, Perez did get that opening pick in round 2 from that exact window onto a Malusi sitting inside a CCTV. So, just some good foresight and just stopping that from happening. Mirror window, inside a 90 flashbang will go out. So I was going to say, I feel like we'll see some kind of Selma charge placed on the wall. Yes, we will, though. Thorn just peeks around the corner, shoots it, and then we're all good.
He should be dead from the window, though. He shouldn't be allowed to make that sort of a play. Perez is preoccupied by what's going on over toward Armory side, but instead he's kind of let Rockstar out of position. Now, Perez has picked up this kill before, with Rockstar tucked in behind that sort of banana array of screens, but this time it seems like he's really concerned with whatever's going on inside of Armory. And we can see that, I mean, there's one guy there, it's going to be TX, but for as good as TX is, he's not really going to be able to shoot you around a corner.
But keep in mind, he can't really do more than that because of the barbed wire. He might not know about the Razor Bloom, but he can't really push up and hold this Thorn on that window. So if he wants to have any kind of, momentum on the side, it's got to be holding that angle on Armory. He has this drone looking at the Thorn, but I really would want to send Dark Eyes on Deimos in this position. I mean, you got soft floors, you got Deathmark trackers. Dark Eyes had a shotgun as well, so could use the revolver or the shotgun to use this.
Looks like Dark Eyes is thinking about a bit of a rotate round as well now. Thorn now targeted by the Deimos. C4 ripped and sent out, but Gotti chooses to play in front of his mirror window. Rockstar will be credited with the kill onto Perez, the Razor Bloom. Coming good there for him. And an equal 3 versus 3 after that initial flurry of action. Dark Eyes still below, though. And he's got all available defenders to track on that death mark. But he's not going to need a track for that one. Just a yellow ping, but still isn't able to land the shots. Darsley, you've got to move, mate. He's shooting the floor at your feet.
He's let him reload and everything. Darcy was like, oh, you missed that one? Here, come on, I'll give you another shot. That is, honestly, great sportsmanship from Darsley. Maybe not the best strategic move. TX domes one outside on Armory balcony, but gets down in the process. I was about to talk about how Dark Eyes maybe rendering the CCTV push a little inefficient, but certainly paying things back with this play around Armory. Almost swings a little too far as Lyda is an angle down the main stairs. Goyo spotted by this remaining Deathmark tracker. Should give Nux the security to go for the defused plant. Indeed it will. Dark Eyes now moving to the cutoff on metal stairs, and we will move into the post plant with barely any shots fired. An excellent pinch by Los to round things out. We are all tied up at 4.
Dark Eyes has done a brilliant job there that round. So much work being put in on that Deimos from below. Not only is he able to get the comical kill onto Darsley.
I can't believe he didn't move. I cannot believe that guy didn't move.
But he's also able to, just really affect onto a lot of those players. 3 kills on the round. All of them, 2 of them coming through the vert, of course, and then that last kill just coming out straight as a straight-up gunfight. You've got to credit them for that sort of ability. The first 2 kills as well coming in within a couple of seconds of each other. So really just the right place at the right time. I do like the minigame that we're seeing played. I just think... It was this one, wasn't it? I need to see it from the top. I need to see what made them think that they were safe. You know?
Well, so I almost wonder, because there were attackers on metal or on armory balcony.
Just so pinched they can't move.
I was gonna say it's possible that they might have been able to move whatsoever.
Yeah, true.
It's very funny though. It creates a very funny image, and honestly, like that's the best part.
10 seconds to insert.
He was just, or maybe he was really just like, surely he doesn't check this again.
Yeah, he's like, oh no,
5 seconds left.
we'll go for it again.
Surely not. Well, he did. And we'll see what happens, at least going forward. Dark Eyes good for 2 in the last round with the demo. So, he said, you know how they always say keep a good thing going? I don't believe that. We'll switch it up to the Dokkaebi and see what kind of lurks we can make that way. Ventilation and Workshop defense from 4 a.m. in turn. I believe we have a lot of the same operators from before. Lida as well on the Malusi, maybe around CCTV. Ooh. See Perez. His snake's been banned, but he's still got the F2. Look at this gap he's found with the Razor Bloom triggered, and somebody in the 90 hallway trying to get the aggressive, but Lida again falls. Understandable why he goes for that fight. Perez can't fall off. He's stuck in the hallway. Just unfortunate that the Twitch is ready for it. And again, on Ventilation Workshop, it is Perez and Lida as the opening duel.
He just backs himself, doesn't he? Every time he backs himself to win that gunfight, it's like, oh, I'm going to push in. Oh, the Razor Bloom's triggered. Actually, that's a good thing. Someone's probably going to swing me now from down there, and I'm going to be better in the gunfight. I'm going to be a bit more unpredictable. I'm going to be a bit quicker. They're not going to think that I'm right stood there in the middle of the corridor. And as quickly as he's got the kill, boom, he's out of there. And there's no further risk then. It is only advantage from that point onwards.
The broader advantage for Los at the moment. Still have plenty of utility to use. Dark Eyes with a Dokkaebi call generating. The Monty still active, full HP. Saw one shock drone go down, but Perez with another. You can use to find some of these Razor Blooms or Vergements, as both seem to be placed, if not destroyed. Ooh! Great play by Gotti right there, I believe. Impact grenade, double to finish off the player. A lot of good coordination between 4 a.m. to land that kill, and one of the 2 very important operators taken down as the other Dokkaebi call goes out as well. How much value will they find? Perez looking to land a pre-fire around the corner. Will down Rockstar in the process. But there's another just on the opposite side of that ACOG. Trying to wrap around. Take the 1v1 against the Twitch, though this will inadvertently weaken the upstairs position as Darsley joining the defenders down below. Sending in the shock drone to finish this off. It feels like 2018 all over again. Oh, and he just escapes. That's
He's
crazy.
master of getting these kills out, though, isn't he? It's not good enough that he finds himself 1, finds himself 2. He's only happy with 3 right now.
Somebody stop this guy.
Was desperately trying to figure out a way of finishing off the downed player earlier, but he knows how these players are going to react. He's essentially baiting and making it really work quite well for him. Thinking about committing to a drop, going to send out some smoke there just to assist. Nux, you can start to try and get this plant down. It's a 4 versus 2. Yeah, you've got a Solus, but are you really going to be able to stop this from going down? I don't think so. Locked in and confirmed in a post. Gotti and TX now. TX has already had a massive clutch here today, but he's going to need another with his teammate Gotti. He's going to be successful here in round 5.
And I don't know if it's going to offer it. I mean, you've got the attackers on vertical angles. You've got the Solus around the corner. Dark Eyes cutting off the main rotation. Perez, potentially 2 aces in one game right now if they let Perez get active just around the corner. Ace number 2 on border, and Perez making Rainbow Six look easy.
A real anything you can do, I can do better there from Perez. I can't believe we don't get any aces all the games that we do, and then all of a sudden we get like a bus. They come in 2s.
Yeah, exactly. They come in pairs.
They really do.
I've never seen the F2 look that simple.
No, you load up
Just
the game, honestly. Load up the game and just see how bad it is.
That's what I mean.
It's gonna be awful.
I'm so used to that thing bouncing for years. And now I see Perez walking through, and it is just like, I want to watch some of these. I'm just going to sit back, actually.
And people will tell you, no, it's fine. It's got a grip on it nowadays. It's like, nope, it's still not fine for me.
It's not fine for me. Get me the 417. Honestly, you got to, again, sportsmanship thing, you got to give him respect. He said, I'm not picking the DMR.
Yeah?
He said, I'm not doing it.
I'll back it. He's just going to pick the best gun in the game.
Okay. I mean, true. But
could be a 5-0 this. Had it not been for some clutches earlier on, TX and Rockstar both, well, 3K for TX. Sorry, ace for TX and a 3K for Rockstar. But it's been Dark Eyes and Perez that have really kept Los in the mix so far. It's been a very clutch-orientated game with multi-kills happening in every single round so far. 3K, 5K, 3K, 3K, 5K. A lot of big individual performance. And the response to the pesky Razor Blooms, well, it is going to be that shock drone. Perez again getting good value out of it. It's something we saw him do over on Night Haven Labs quite well. Not only is he quite slippy in the server with a gun, he's also pretty decent at navigating himself around there with one of these shock drones and usually gets a good portion of value out of that. Removing the Grismot mine. Removing 2 of the Razor Blooms. I mean, let's be honest, it's a one-man army at this point. He's got an ace and he's just single-handedly demolished, what, like 6 pieces of utility?
Gotta say, though, it is kind of cool to watch Rockstar place that Razor Bloom at the beginning, and then Perez doesn't check it on the window that time. He only gets it on the second go-around. So, a lot of good value on that Razor Bloom. And again, it might seem simple or strange, but clearly unanticipated by Los, even if it hasn't had a lot of the impact I think we otherwise would like, or otherwise 4AM would have liked. Swing around the corner, Gotti, he's just not winning that. It's not his day today. It's not his map, unfortunately. Perez, how about number 9? 9-3 right now, and just number 6 if you include the past couple rounds. Very real possibility could be 4 in a row for Los at this point if they can convert this kill, though Lida with a huge frag. Finding Dark Eyes on the Deimos down at the bottom of Metal Stairs. Some heavy utility and some heavy vertical pressure taken down.
Feels like 4AM are getting a little bit antsy right now, doesn't it? That play that Gotti made, it's not a play that we'd have seen him make this morning. You know, he wouldn't have been caught out so far out of bounds. And very similar in round 5, you wouldn't have seen him playing really bold in front of a mirror window. It's like they're almost trying to lash out a little bit here against Loss and be that bit more of an aggressive factor. But it ain't working. It ain't washing at the moment. Lida tucked in at the minute. Will be stunned here. With a couple of players ready and waiting to jump in on him. Finds one onto Dash, but Perez elsewhere is still seeing success. He's got control of Break Room now, but he doesn't have a great deal of HP to speak of. Nux is also looking pretty low, but Lida just gives himself up.
Perez still on the board. As Darsley gets 1. He might have 1 HP, but this F2 in Perez's hands is nightmarish. Direct information on 1, spots him, tags him up through the wall as Daffo finishes him off. TX in a 1v2. 5 of his kills came early on this half. Now he's got to get 2 to tie things up. Spots 1, but can't land the kill on 1 HP. He's still good for it. Perez simply cannot be stopped.
He needed to land 1 bullet. That was all. 1 bullet would have done the job. Perez was just too good in the moment. Let's see what they've got to say at the halfway point.
Okay, we're going on attack this time. Let me get what they do. On defense, remember they have pulse, office, they extend break, and they hold bottom east like we're doing. Tellers, they extend top all the way to CCTV. They have mirror window 90 for the break, and they have Oryx. They will try to flank us, okay? Vert, they extend top 2. They have mirror archives to look office door. Solis is on site, give info on drone, and improvement the plant, okay? They will play aggressive, so be careful. The more confident they are, the more aggressive they play. They will not hesitate to run out. Like we open east, they run out break. That's what they usually do. Even sometimes when we open break, they don't care, they still run out break. So be aware of this. Be aware of spawn kills. And they should contest us on entry. Then the moment we step in the map, they should fall back and hold lines, okay? So we need to be fast on map entry. We take our position. Then it's our turn to play, okay? Crossfire, gadgets, play together, communicate. Okay, guys?
Tá, beleza. Na oficina, a gente vai fazer a Fúria 3.0 Default ou a Default. Mas lembra dos comportamentos da Default de subir de solis lá, mirar e garantir o plant para não dar a porta do pipi, da vertical da porta do pipi, e
Lembra
você do
disso,
drop
hein,
da sua Pawn Cyber, Pérez.
Oi?
Roubadão.
Lembra disso que ele falou.
O que? O final agora?
Lá embaixo, subir e pegar o pixel do
Ah,
pipi.
não,
Presta
do
atenção,
bullet.
tô fazendo
Não,
reviewzão
tá.
aqui, presta atenção, velho.
Não,
Na
deixa
moral.
eu tô on fire aqui.
Então, mas eu sei, velho, mas é esse tipo de coisa que...
Não,
Fala,
on fire
deixa,
não.
fala,
Banheiro, a gente vai fazer 5 em
Essa é
cima,
a palavra.
comigo de Kaid, o Nusga
Oryx,
de
você
Oryx.
passando no meio primeiro pra você.
Aham, perfeito. O resto é default, né? A gente não vai mudar nada na 5 em cima, né? Deixa eu falar.
Não vai mudar.
não.
Né? E a mira comigo de Kaid também. E aí, só lembrar de você fazer a liga da tripla, Daf, na mira.
Aham.
Tá, é isso.
Beleza.
Lembra que a gente vai banir capitão também, né? Então, então
É,
provavelmente
então,
a progressão da Leste não vai ser tão forte em você, deixa
Eu acho que é bom lembrar nisso, Dash, do banheiro, que joga meio splitado, mas ele joga com foco pra comer pra dentro da oficina, tá ligado? Com Ace lá.
As we can see going forward, Los, I imagine feeling confident. Dash doing a lot of the talking. Definitely something that he has really grown into over the past couple years. Obviously moving from W7M to Wildcard, taking a bit, not necessarily a leadership role, but definitely still, I think, bringing some presence to that team. And now fully, you can hear him calming a lot during that Los tactical timeout. And conversely for 4AM, moving to the attacking side, things started off well in terms of round victories, but definitely in hindsight, if we see just some good conversions from Los Ali, this could have been another 6-0 half.
We live in that world. We live in a very real world. It could have so easily been a 6-0 half. It was such a multi-kill heavy half of Siege in general, though, because not only were the multi-kills got by 4 Angry Men the reason that they won their 2 rounds, but every single round won by a loss. There was multi-kills happening, whether it was Dark Eyes getting 3Ks, Perez getting aces or 3Ks. That was kind of the order of the day, really.
Which I'm not complaining about because it makes things look like
It's
way more
border, isn't it?
entertaining.
Look, it's border. You're going to get multi-kills. If
Yeah.
people are in the right place at the right time, and especially with the way that bodies were kind of being thrown about a little bit, I think certainly 4AM were throwing more bodies at problems than they maybe needed to, and there was a bit of a lacking gunfights being won. So, of course, if you die, you're going to be susceptible to getting another one, because if Gotti's dying inside a break, what's to stop Perez from moving through and picking up another 2? Absolutely nothing. So it does make sense. But the pressure really on 4 Angry Men at the moment, of course, losing the first map of the series, Night Haven Labs, 7 rounds to 1. Okay, they've done better here. They've got 2 rounds, but it's still not going to get them through to stage 2, is it? We need to see them have a massive performance here on their own attacks.
And of course, as you started to talk about towards the end there, this is phase 2 on the line right now. 4 Angry Men go down on border. They will go out of the tournament, and Los will progress, joining Shopify Rebellion, Falcons, and Enterprise. Their teams qualified from phase 1 into phase 2, the Swiss stage. Starting on these defenses here, looking to make a good first impression and make a compelling start. It's actually not Dark Eyes, by the way, with the DMR playing in CCTV. It's somehow worse in that it's not a DMR, but it's Perez playing in the CCTV position right now. And then, of course, on the opposite side, things get even worse because you got a Clash moving around East Stairs. Bit of a problematic operator or player on both sides of this equation. B's going out, the Zoto canister's also going forward. Dash is just like, okay, I guess this is happening. Keep with the shield facing forward.
Yeah, Dash just kind of needs to stay still there, doesn't he, a little bit? There's not really too much of a risk for him. He can slowly back himself up over into office, but this push is very well telegraphed. And, quite rightly, as Eden said, what have they done? Take a map control open top east. Everyone's backed up and they're starting to play lines. They're playing cut-offs. They've challenged a little bit at the periphery, and now they're just dug deep. We've got Perez tucked inside of CCTV. He's not moved too much. We've got Dark Eyes on 90. Again, he hasn't moved too much either. TX below. He's going to be able to get a couple of scans out there. He's going to track Perez at the moment. We all know that Perez is going to be likely playing upside inside of CCTV. Dafo's actually come up for a little bit of assistance right now as they're just starting to flick in and out between CCTV and Armory. Still with some Razor Blooms in pocket as well, so he can still keep himself safe here. Perez finds one onto Lida though. Gotti. Good for the trade out there onto Dash, but Dark Eyes, he's made himself down those metal stairs and is playing a brilliant link role at the moment between the rest of the team and Perez, just keeping him safe, making sure that no Deimos can go underneath and try and displace him from being able to operate upstairs inside of CC.
Keeping them at bay quite well, keeping the whole team together. Rockstar's been looking for a pick from this break room position about 30 seconds right now, and nothing has gone his way. Moving over to Armory, creating an alternate angle, but the defender is tucked in around the corner. Nux even still has a C4, though. Oh, never mind. Nux no longer has a C4. Perez going down soon after as things even up, with the time so low for 4 Angry Men. And with one player around the corner, spotted the last second, trying to find the next. God, he gets one with the ace down as well. It's 4AM with the advantage, but can Dark Eyes find the 1v2? Flashbang goes out. Neither player somehow takes a fight in that engagement. I don't even know where Gotti went. Vanished in a puff of smoke. As the striker now the only one left, at least inside of Armory, gets the diffuser down. Another flashbang sails through as Gotti is on metal, but I don't even know where he is. Dark Eyes somehow survives both of these pieces of secondary utility. The attackers have retreated to their post-plant positions. You wish you had a C4. You wish you had a Zoto canister. Something to even the odds. With this diffuser right here, but think about just maybe even taking the fight, going for a pre-fire. No, instead we'll start around the corner. Gotti might swing from metal, finds him through the wall, and 4AM pick up their first on attack.
wasn't even like great post-plan positions there. I was getting a little bit panicked because you think, oh, one of these players kind of messes up and doesn't get the memo that we're going to peek at the same time. There's a very easy chance there for Dark Eyes to get a kill off the back of it. Bit of a weird round. The control held by Lost so well for the majority. And then it's just that final little bit. We get the player dying in small, the Cade, and all of a sudden everything starts to unravel. Nux just didn't have anywhere to go. He didn't have enough space to operate in the hatch. I don't think he could have dropped that. Didn't quite have the same level of support. The opening portion of the round was fantastic.
Bomb diffuser.
He's there. Dafo. Where does he expect it to go from there? Not an easy spot to try and tuck in, and especially if you've already gotten a kill from that position, you're very unlikely to be able to get another if the player is just joining you and coming in straight off the back of his teammate. 4 AM keeping things competitive though, and they've narrowed the lead that Lost hold by 1. Currently sitting 4-3 in favour of Lost still, but it feels tenuous at the moment, Lynx.
It does. It does feel a bit tenuous. Honestly, like, kind of in a way for both teams. I mean, obviously 4AM still trying to claw their way back, but for Los as well, I mean, again, another round in which it seems like they have everything going for them, but as with all 3 rounds, 4 Angry Men have won. Just some small things collapse in the late round, and all of a sudden we're in a case where they've won. Case where 4 Angry Men have come away with it. They've done a good job playing the team in front of them and taking advantage of those openings when they presented themselves. But again, if you're looking towards Los, this has been a consistent problem now in both attack and defense. Even, I say problem, not necessarily in that it's something they can even necessarily fix. It's just a trend that keeps appearing. And it could make this game close as we only have 1 round separating these 2 teams. 4 Angry Men could very well tie things up with a win on Ventilation and Workshop. As Lida looks beyond just the side itself to try and gain some information on where these defenders are playing, where he can direct Rockstar's attention to on the Monty. Also, I guess direct where Darcy might be able to find, as we have one player inside a bathroom right now, shoulder to shoulder through the wall with the Sense. As one, both attacker and defender ratting around the corner. Might just spot the Cade, though. Could be an incoming engagement, depending on what Darcy decides to do. We'll spot him as the Monty moves in for the pressure. Dark Eyes in a really tricky spot as the C4 bounces around the corner, but it takes down the Monty. Might just find the Sens as well, but no! I mean, they do find him, but it's not even the Cade. It's the Castle through the vertical angles that takes down the Sens. And this push over on Teller's bathroom side is a disaster.
It's not how you want to be losing the Monty and the Sens, really, is it? You would expect the Monty to be able to close the gap a little bit more than that. The C4 bouncing off the shield, and I don't know if Rockstar pushed too far ahead or should have just backed up a little bit. Either way, it isn't looking great as Nuxka takes Gotti down. Gotti still struggling to replicate performances we've seen him have earlier today. And TX and Lida now trying to left trying to pick up the pieces. Lida downstairs, TX inside of office. Even he's only on a shred of HP. Still got a full wealth of utility, but not really too much that they're going to be able to do with it. Isn't going to get the glimpse there onto Dark Eyes. Eventually will. That's some good information exchange. Lida down there on the Soliton scanner, able to swap that information about, but does take a good bit of damage there from Dash. You might know where Dash is, but you don't know where Dafo is. It looks like the final kill is going to come in as well here. Nux just cleaning things up on that top floor, and Lost looking far more in control here on that defensive round.
They're keeping their lead to 2. Now 5-3 instead of 4-2. And so much going wrong over on the Teller's bathroom side. I mean, obviously the Cade gets drone, and 4 Angry Men make a perfectly fair call. Bring the Monty over, try to pressure him. It's going to be a bit of a weird pinch just because you only have Sens, who's right next to the Monty and pushing from the same angle. But Los were ready for it. Just so many protocols and layers on that side to deal with both of them. And then, of course, just an advantage that you can run away with for the rest of things. Eden now hitting the pause button, as elimination from Salt Lake City is starting to become a greater and greater possibility as these rounds trickle by. Only 2 rounds before Los might close this out in regulation. And anything might happen at that point. Might be a Perez ace, could be a number of things that might just accidentally go Los's way.
With the way that this game's gone, it really could be anything. If you want to look at
timing.
It could be timing. I mean, we've seen a little bit of timing already, but if you want to look at numbers, the numbers, they kind of heavily favour Los. I don't think there's too much of a surprise there. Los have had the opening pick in every single one of these rounds so far. Okay, they've lost 3 of them, so that means they've not converted all of those opening picks, but the sentiment still remains. They have been cat hot on that opening engagement regardless. A lot of the time, the rounds are coming down to multi-kills being required. Round 8, interestingly enough, the only round that we didn't have a multi-kill in.
Well, what do you know?
I know that in round 8, it was the only round so far that we didn't have a multi-kill in.
Well, here's a question. So we obviously multi-kill in terms of like what like we track is like at least a 3K, but a double kill is technically a multi-kill.
It is.
It's just like those don't really get talked about often, you know, which is like understandable because like the everything above a 3K gets like super big font, but the double kill is like really just kind of like it's negligible font.
It's only a double kill though, isn't it?
It's still a multi-kill.
Yeah, I guess so. I think you could credit Nux then if you wanted to, say that he got his multi-kill inside.
That's why I was doing this. I really just wanted to. I just wanted to defend Nux.
Okay.
Get him some credit.
Consider them defended.
Well, after my valiant and stalwart defense of Nux, let's see how Los can compare to me when they defend Tellers and Bathroom. Is standing onto the second floor. We have an Oryx in play, by the way. I love that. I think we actually saw. Was it? I remember seeing an Oryx in SAO, and it might have been Los that did it.
It was told. Eden said it in his timeout, didn't he? He said, "Look, they're going to play the Oryx. It's what they like to do. Expect the flank. Expect people to, you know, be very loose and jumping up hatches and stuff like that, in anticipation of a shield being played. But again, you don't have to just be playing a shield to counter it with an Oryx. Oryx is something that Nux does like to play,
and something that Los like to play specifically, as you said, and Eden said as well, to counter those shields. Of course. Could just be Rima dashing some random guy with a gun in his hand. Feels a similar purpose, though not as effective with the shield. Gonna climb up the hatches and make some quick rotations, though, and I don't think Nux will be complaining all that much about that. Can support the upstairs or downstairs positions as they so desire. It might be important, because Dark Eyes starting to face a little bit of pressure from these Bs, but not a whole lot.
you can see the shock drones going in, trying to deal with some of this defender utility, the trips. The camera on 90. It is starting to work. Slowly they're chipping away at it, but they're not getting a good foothold in on that east stair just yet. Dark Eye's still tucked in onto that long corridor. Perez still inside a CCTV. He's even got a deployable shield to go back onto. Dark Eyes eventually will be downed there, but not before Lida's downed as well.
Now, Rockstar finished off in the process. 5v3, 5v2 at the moment for 4 a.m. Confirmed once Light is taken down. Big trade with the DMR, but Dash, good for some kind of multi-kill. Maybe not 3, but 2 in his hands with the TCSG, and that's what TX has to find now. It would have to be all 3. Ooh, almost flicks up on the east stairs. There's 2 TCSGs in his way. Cade and Goyo, respectively. Diffuser not in his possession. No C4, by the way, for Dash. It's barbed wire instead. So it have to be one off of gunfight.
Recovered the bomb diffuser.
Whether it's by him or the Goyo. A nice little crossfire set up. The Daffo would have to swing around the corner and get an angle through that soft wall.
Daffo and Dash not wanting to give up this upstairs control. Are they going to let this plank go down here? Certainly looks like it's being stuck. Eventually going to hit that drop, but it is going to be a little bit too late. Nice shots being fired there by TX, but he's put himself in a really tough spot now because he has to try and hold on to the kit as well as get the 2 kills, and he knows that he's now going to get pushed.
I mean, it's one of those unfortunate positions where I think going to get the defuse plant is perfectly fine, but for that site in particular, like, where do you go?
On the window and then get outside.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Because think about it this way, right? He could go to the window and go outside, but the defender was already rotating that way and the Cade was there. I think there's a decent chance he might still get caught hopping out of the window based on the timing. I do think, to be fair, like, going out of the window is probably the better position. But even then, if you go out the window, you have somebody coming from east stairs side as well. How the hell are you going to counter that? Like, are you going to hop in the window at that point? Because then the defender's just covering you from the outside. And the point I'm making is that even assuming the window's the best position, it's still a bad position in that spot. I don't think there was anywhere he could go, any angle he could hold that was going to be good. And that's not a him issue thing. It's the fact that Los are still bleeding them so heavily in the early game, doing so well winning these gunfights, that on a site like Teller's Bathroom, it's not like Armory where maybe you have a better position you can hide. Nobody anchors in Tellers for a reason. So it makes sense that there's not going to be any good post-plant position to play on Tellers either.
We get to see a couple of the kills as they happened because a lot went down there on that east stairs. It's Dash with 3 there for round 9. What could be the final round of the day coming right up here. 4 Angry Men might be headed home a little bit earlier than they would have liked. Losar barreling toward a win right now. 3 rounds will be required here in a row by 4 Angry Men to secure an overtime, to at least have some sort of a chance of a consulate being a possibility here as our 3rd and final map. With the siege that we've seen, with the way that these opening picks have been going, with how well we've seen the players on Loss working together at the moment, it is looking like a little bit of a tall order. Dark Eyes, 10-7. Perez, 14-6. Impactful kills coming out of players like Dapo and Dash. Nux as well joining in on the action. You could really speak about any single one of these players. But on the flip side, it's been kind of a one-player story for him. TX, he's had his big round with an ace, but aside from that, he's had 3 kills elsewhere. We've just not seen the same level of contribution. Perez still going to be playing inside of the CCTV area.
DMR this time, though.
Yeah. No Thorn.
No Thorn.
Surprised it wasn't banned out, really. It's the 2-brow that's been removed, but...
Ooh, there's a gap in that RU projector.
Daffo might just need to bide his time there. Perez is playing this in a real off angle as well. Look at all the kit he's got on the floor. He's got a Vulcan Pack and Mute Jammer, deployable shield. He's got his laser gate placed on the window. I don't think I've ever seen it set up in that sort of a way before, but he's got a heck of a lot there to try and keep him safe. There will be a player below, though, and he does need to be cautious because TX below could cause a ruckus. He's already opened a little bit of the floor inside of CCTV, and if he opens any more and gets the info, it could be a bit of a nightmare.
But again, if he gets the info, and that's what I'm curious about, because he's so focused on that shield, and Perez just isn't playing there. Oh, it is a wide swing by Daffo. He's able to light one up, but Perez facing some damage, though not a whole lot. 4AM, I think, have an idea of his position now at this point. They know he is not behind the shield, but Daffo, oh, that RU projector doing some heavy lifting right there. Finally, somebody hops in, but Perez still gets the kill on Delida. Survives everything, and the glass decides to have a bite, too. Perez, 16-6 right now. Part of me wants him to swing the balcony and get 17, but instead, it'll be Los with the advantage. And Gotti remains outside. He's dropped down to the bottom floor. Diffuser not in his possession. Instead, it is Perez who's got control of 4AM's fate, who's had their number from the beginning of Border. And Gotti's just given up.
What else is there to do at this point? Reset, go back from spawn, see if you can find a couple of quick kills. He knows at least where Perez is going to be hiding. But honestly, with the way he's played, I fancy him for the last as well. What a shot to close out Border and to close out the series here. Lost will be the final team here, advancing toward phase 2.
What do you even say? What do you even say about that? A one-tap for what, number 18 was that, Ollie?
Yeah.
It's 18 kills to end Border. Unbelievable stuff from Perez. Dark Eyes also with 11 kills, but excellent, excellent work. We'll have a lot more right after this. Don't go